You may ask, what epitomizes an era or a time so succinctly that no more needs to be added or further clarified? Walt Whitman, Emerson, and Mark Twain have each some of the qualities belonging to that period of the American journey. But although the expression of a people might naturally be supposed to come through literature, it is a painter who, by the quality of his art, with its excellences and its limitations, has given us the truest record of the America of his time. It is through this quality that one may best approach his pictures now on their own terms, and so realize the significance of the work of Thomas Eakins. A picture that shows this quality with special clearness is The Swimming Hole, discounting the questions of colour, of the minutiae of naturalism, and of the sense of outdoor light, all of which may or may not be in a great picture, and yet have for too long kept us from perceiving what this artist has to offer us. There is above all the nobility of scale, the emphasis on the lines and masses that build up the work into a thing of large and harmonious proportions. It is evidence of Eakins' intuitive understanding of the character of that America of which the builders sought finds so strong an expression in his art. So every picture by Thomas Eakins is his instinct with the forces that were sweeping the America of his day. The admiration of the world of his time for the great thinkers and engineers is again and again celebrated by Thomas Eakins in his work, whether in pictures like The Gross Clinic and The Agnew Clinic, where actual episodes of the life of the scientists and teachers are shown in dramatic fashion. There is a sense of the constructor about this painting, and the strength of Eakins' art lies in the fullness with which his line follows the urge to master, physical or intellectual, of the people who embodied the essential effort of his period. The Agnew Clinic is Eakins' largest work, which was commissioned for $750, equivalent to $50,000 today, by 3 undergraduate classes at the University of Pennsylvania in 1889 to honor Dr. Agnew on the occasion of his retirement. Amazingly, it was completed quickly, in just 3 months, rather than the year that it took Eakins for the Gross Clinic. Carved into the painting's frame was a Latin inscription by Eakins. Translated, it says, D. Hayes Agnew, M.D., most experienced surgeon, clearest writer and teacher, most venerated and beloved man. About Thomas Eakins, the man, we have the facts of his life that were given in his own words. In answer to a request for information about himself in 1893, he replied in the following note: I was born July 25th, 1844. My father's father was from the north of Ireland of the Scotch-Irish. On my mother's side, my blood is English and Hollandish. I was a pupil of Gerome, also of Bonnat and of Dumont, sculptor. I have taught in life classes and lectured on anatomy continuously since 1873. I have painted many pictures and done a little sculpture. For the public, I believe my life is all in my work. Yours truly, Thomas Eakins. One observer noted of Eakins: in person, the painter was of the type which he represented. His head was massive, his eyes clear and determined. His bronzed skin was that of a man who had faced rough weather, and his strong jaw was only half hidden under the sparse iron-grey beard. I once observed Mr. Eakins in conversation with his friend William Merritt Chase, and the contrast between the two was striking. The personal verve and distinction of the brilliant technician were arresting, even as his paintings were conspicuous in exhibitions. We are coming to understand the even more searching scrutiny of appearances that occupied the long life of Thomas Eakins, who was a realist, but one must see him as more than that. His observation of men, women, and things, his dissecting of cadavers, human and animal, his study of the natural sciences, his willingness to avail himself of photographs for his work, his patient, impersonal search after character, his severe and salutary work as a teacher. These are the facts about Eakins that until now have most impressed us, but they are not enough to explain the irrepressible rise in esteem that has lifted his work from neglect to veneration. There is a force in this painter that comes from his embodying, not copying, the character of his country and generation, and such a force finds expression in relations of form and space and light that are not to be accounted for as realism. They are universal and absolute, like the truths of mathematics. They are the abstractions that we know best in music and architecture, but which must underlie the representation of the painter or sculptor if it is to live. In portraits of the man whom the artist preferred to characterize as the thinker. When one has perceived the quality, at once classical and yet contemporary, of the solitary figure as represented by Thomas Eakins, one is better prepared to appreciate the splendid and dynamic balance attained in the portrait of Professor Leslie Miller. The realism of these pictures is their obvious feature, and has led some people to confuse the painter with those men who lose themselves in the maze of detail. But Eakins has the power to hold great masses in their essential and expressive directions, even while painting wrinkles and hair, small reflections and exact textures. The masculine character of his art concentrates on form as its medium. In the severity of his outlook, he is unconcerned with the beauty of color, while atmosphere and its unifying function, its drawing together of isolated objects into the harmonious ensemble, had no interest for this mind that was forever trying to penetrate the thing and its meaning. It was to the Ecole teachers of French art that Thomas Eakins addressed himself, and then only for his technical training. Yet even though he continued their method without radical change, one feels that he is incomparably farther removed from the slick academism of the followers of Gerome and Bonnat than he is from the other line of French artists who preserve the country's record of vital naturalism. In reality, it is with neither group that we should identify him. The virtues of his works are those of a life typified in his art, and the imperfections of unfinished canvases. At times, not even the powerful will of the man could lift him above the poverty and bleakness that were part of the American scene as a growing economy, and his painting is touched by the chill of it. In the studio, Eakins was vigorous and without qualms to proceed to his mission to try new, and keep a standard he felt most relevant to what constitutes fine work, and yet with a scientific intensity, as in the photos that show his earnest searching of form and the tonal enveloping light they offer. This use of photography was never a challenge to the artist, but merely a tool to trigger ways to use images. It's geometry that all art rests on, proportions, shapes and design, the way Greeks were so keen to explore and take advantage of. In the landscapes and river view paintings with oarsmen, Eakins took full advantage of all that nature had to offer. He faithfully recorded the essence of what was before him, and with the same determination to scientifically and artfully set down his vision. His parts of each canvas offer delightful essentials of each part painted. His deep dive into the details in no way detracts from the whole, but rather all is in perfect keeping. We can now appreciate the artist more fully as a personality who displays himself honestly in each work as much as he takes on the scene depicted faithfully, truly worthy of the highest praises in workmanship and choices of subjects. So original and all-American. Eakins returned to Philadelphia in 1869 from his European sojourn, where he remained to the end of his life, and in 1878 he began teaching at the Pennsylvania Academy of the Fine Arts, where he was appointed professor of painting and drawing the next year. He married Susan Hannah McDowell, a student at the Academy in 1884. The nude model controversy surrounding its use in classes led to his removal from the professorship in 1886. Although Eakins' fame diminished almost entirely, he was admired in his native city, and he was not one to be socially connected as a must, but he was respected, remained independent, and not moved. Eakins died in Philadelphia in 1916 at the age of 71. Thomas Eakins now has achieved what was difficult in his lifetime, the highest regard for painting the American spirit, as Homer had done in his own way, and that is the finest one can have. We hope you liked the presentation of a fine painter, and were inspired to explore further, so consider subscribing and add a like if you will. If you haven't yet, please consider, and our thanks to you. Till next time, bye for now.